So we're back.
Yeah, so Zeno.
Yeah. Before, we just get sometimes we will go up and we thinking I want we're going a little bit on the roaring 70s. So I get a bouquet. A official. I'm going through I started in the village, in my special village. And I'll make good acquaintance with official over the years. And official come you will like this. Book. But every time I see the 70s, remember it's on the show already. It's not something you just get plenty information on. Right. So from the time I see it, I take it one time. Right? Only to realize the author of the book on my friend is Peter. You're like, oh, wait that. So I'm glad to have you here. Give me a little insight on the time that I passed through there, your recordings of it, and what we could do today to push that movement forward.
All right. Well, Assemblies is an interesting thing, because the book come after the play. Well, first of all, you might have known that Roald Gibbons did 3 plays in 91, 92, 93. I sing the chorus, I Wanna Fall, 10-1. And at the end of 10-1 in Queen's Hall, he asked me to do the next one, which was to do a play dealing with the 1970s in Calypso. But the minute he tell me that, I say, you see me? I know that, because his plays had done in the 1930s and 40s, in the 1950s with Spoiler, in the 60s and 60s with Sparrow, and it ended. The last song in the 10-1 is Tobler singing Massa Day Must Done. And I say, you see me? You're writing nothing about the 1970s Calypso. I write about the 1970 Black Power movement. So I called Kafra Kambon and one of the other people to get more information and did this play using Calypso, of course, a Calypso musical about the 1970s. And taking the name of the play from Valentino's 1986 Calypso called The Roaring 70s, in which he laments the fall of the revolution in terms of everything. As he says, I see conscious black men and women in the 90s crumble and bend, and the nation going right back to Europe on our Western trend. I said, that is what we're going to do. And then later on, I say, I can reach more people. Now, the play has been very successful. It has been done in New York. It is done I did it for Best Village twice. So they really get around.
Are there digital copies?
Sorry?
Are there digital copies?
Well, I admit it's online. And somebody was telling me I should start trying to sell it online as opposed to sell the book. I have copies of the book still because for last year, when we had that celebration on the 26th of February, February, you were there in the school, in the promenade and then up to the square. I printed a whole set, expecting that for all the activities last year it will sell, and it really sold good on the very first day. And then, of course, we get locked down. So but the Roaring 70s book is really made for children who could easily understand and learn about the period. That is why each page is a different topic. And it's simply written with pictures and calypso quotations and piece of poem and things that could reach them. I know you will say that big people will see the same thing, because if you're big and you do, in fact, if you're under 50, if you're on, in fact, in more than that, you did not have any first-hand knowledge of that part in the 70s.
No.
Right. So for you, it's still as a child. See the book. But I made it simple. Now, the one you have, which is the one the red one, I did it first in 1994, I think. And I remember I launched it in City Hall with my candle dagger. I was glad that he gave me a thumbs up. In fact, when he saw the play the first time, he was very, very impressed. So the book really is to teach people who were not there. I mean, I say insurance, but people who were not there. And what happening now with Roaring Seventies is that for the last year, more than a year, we have been moving towards making it into a movie. One of my ex-students living in Belgium, we wrote over the script to make it a movie script, and we organize it. So whenever she comes back home, she'll come back home next month. But just for a little stay, when the lockdown is over, and we can move into to filming, right? The script is already written. She's trying to make sure we get some sponsorship by the film industries and so on. And because I always felt, that it should be a movie. That period, and I met Pikalu, who was himself. He was detained in Nelson Island in the 70s. He died now, right from Faizabad down by me. He told me he could write a book. And I said, nah, we don't want a book on the period. We want something visual with people can read it too easily.
Yeah.
And generation don't want to read. So that opportunity is here now, and I'm hoping that sometime soon in the next year or so. I mean, there's some good documentary online, one or two nice documentary things, but this will be a actual movie with the people. The protagonist is Jared, who was the Black Power marcher turned gorilla, the figure of Gayelle through his eyes. So the Roaring Seventies has been successful as a play. I mean, as a book, I printed it before and it sold out. So it was going again, hopefully. I think it's my fault that you're making a very good point why I didn't go online. And I think I could see about that because it might work. I have bought a couple of things online. Chike Pilgrim have a book on Black Power, well, essays or interviews with people who were there, important people. I bought it online, so yeah. So hopefully the Roaring Seventies will reach there sometime.
But in terms of what you saw, what you documented, what you lived through, Black African life today, tell us what we could take from the 1970s and use today to move forward.
Well, yeah, and I always tell people I was not involved in the actual 1970 year.
Yeah.
When I reached on campus in 74, I get into the whole movement. I used to go to sessions, and Daga would come and Cameron would come and talk and so on. And I documented. But the period was an important period. And we lost opportunities to do it. So we lamenting now, all that gone and what we lost. We are losing some of the things we had, some of the gains. In Chogla's Calypso, thanks to Daga, he makes that point in Gypsy's Calypso, Children of the Revolution. They talk about what we had. And some of the there are physical things. The National Commercial Bank, OFCB, the Unit Trust, the ability for Black people to work in our bank. If you didn't know that, it surprises you, and you have a sense of disbelief. I remember when the play is going on, I did the play in UWI once, and sitting down with me was Valentino and his wife, Peggy. And Peggy turned to some youths who say in disbelief that couldn't happen. When in the play, they talk about if you was Black, you couldn't work in a bank. So some of the physical gains that we had, right? And of course, what we had also is a greater love for Calypso and steel band and African drumming, love for yourself, hairstyles and of course African names, which all of us some people, yeah. Right. So that means all of those things come out of that period. So when we see children now, in fact, Eddie Belgrave is on record, deceased now, was saying, he said, when I see these Black girls in the bank, I was wondering if you know how I work hard for them to get that work. Because it's a struggle that takes place. And I think the problem unless you see the roaring 70s, because there's not much other things you could get it from, is that a whole generation do understand the struggle that McCandless and Nunes and Weeks and Leonard did so that they could do things today that they take for granted. Yeah. When they get the children African names. I mean, but that's what, as a point there, I was in Grenada in 1989. So I'm in the place I was staying, and I find a Grenada newspaper, and they had the common entrance results, what we have at SE now. I think they still call it common entrance.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to know that to me, more children in Grenada had African names than children in Trinidad. I don't know if it come because, well, it had to come 12 years before, which is 1979, but I come up from the Grenadian Revolution. But I think the impact of the African, our Black Power, went throughout the Caribbean. And definitely, when you look at a generation now who African names, don't even realize it's African name because they have it. Right? The parents give them to the name, Asinta, Ishe, and they realize. Right? So all of those things were gains. And what was even more important, I think, is something that is almost spiritual. I remember a taxi driver, and East Indian taxi driver, tell me that in 1970, nobody would jump in his taxi after the matches and not pay. Almost as if there was a kind of no respect in the society, right? And a no respect definitely for Africans, for Indians, and to a lesser extent, but still there, vice versa, which didn't happen before, which was just Africans looking at the Indians as a kind of askance and wonder who is them people, boy, and so on. But the movement and the education aspect of the movement, that when Njak bought Van Setima and Ben Buchanan and so on here to get all the information and all the books. I mean, I had scores of books, I no longer have them because I lend people and I get back, but I don't mind because other people get to read. I used to take a bus from Long Miami, Sando, go in Port of Spain, go by the African Trade Center, and buy $500 worth of books and come out on the road.
The African Trade Center, is it?
Yeah, it no longer exists. It was on Chagarid Road. And Chagarid Road or somewhere there, it's called African Trade Center.
Tell me your experience just now, as you say, you mentioned books.
Yeah.
Avery Amon from Africa House, you know him?
No, I know. But I wonder if Africa House is what was the African Center.
I remember he telling me that they started hiding the books. When they bring the books during that period now, and leading up to the 70s, you had to hide the books, your Marcus Garvey books and them kind of thing because the authorities come in to seize it.
Yeah. In fact, Clive Nunes has a joke he told me about that, He said all the season a day, the police come and they pick up the book called Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, the book about the horse. The English book about the horse called Black Beauty, and they seized that too. In fact, in 1973, 74, that period, right, when Guy was in the hills, it is a fact that the police raided 3,000 different houses, during that time, looking for, as they say, arms and ammunition and subversive literature, books you're supposed to read. As a piece that we have not transferred, and I cannot do it. The people who know better, she can do it to some extent by having one book out there online. We didn't transfer the books, physical book, to something online, different things, so that this new generation could find it and read it online and read about what took place. And because some of these stories are very interesting. That whole thing about Nelson Island and people getting locked up and Gayelle and them. In fact, Clem Haynes is one of the people I spoke to in writing the book, because he in fact acted in the play. Because when he came out of jail, he spent 8 years in jail because he was a part of the North guerrillas. He used to act in Best Village and ended up in Wal Gibbons, Cambole group and so on. And since then, he's always talked. he was, for instance, he was actually there the morning when Beverly Jones was killed. And that's the story. Very interesting thing. So we should have transformed that into a mode or a medium where young people could see it and read it in an easier way. Despite all the problems with all these radio stations playing foreign music and all the TV stations online to confuse you, it had, but I suppose a serious government would have a radio TV station that playing it. Not only that, I think I made a point, and to some extent it's my fault. 8 years ago, I spoke to the director of culture, the people in the ministry, and told them what we should do is have plays done all year round. So that when people come to the country, boat or plane, just like in England, when you go to England, you go to London, you could go and see the mousetrap. It's running all year. Or you could go and see the one by Agatha Christie. So what? Think about the prosecution. Or you could see next to now. We should have a play about the 1970s or the 1930s or the Butler play, which I wrote a play on Butler too. These should be there all year round, so that people could learn about what happened before when they come and go to school. Children, I don't think women feel they must put money and things. Anyway, yeah.
When you went to
Mexico.
Yeah,
That's a normal thing. There's a theme park called Xcaret, and every day 6 o'clock they shut down the park, and they run a play from 6 to 9, talking about the history of Mexico, going from the beginning to when the Spanish conquistadors came, when the French came, when the Portuguese came, and when you leave there, if you don't know about Mexican history, something wrong with you. So,
Yeah, well, a real shame. we missed that, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, listen, that fella who listening to me right now, he is a politician. Unfortunately, in Trinidad, we only have two sides, red and yellow.
yes.
He ain't getting to be heard, but he might understand better the politics of that, why it is that these things can be part of our normal everyday thing. You know what is the irony? I always do that to young people and tell them they don't understand how we get out of slavery. And there are wrong things they say. Like before I explained that, I was going through a classroom one day, about 30 years ago in school, maybe in the 90s. And on the board was a line that says, the reason for the abolition of slavery was because of the contribution of the abolitionists, Clarkson and Wilberforce and so on. And I rub it off and put the reason for the abolition of slavery is because they put fire in the tail. Now, the irony of that is that Eric Williams, first Prime Minister, his great book is called Capitalism and Slavery. And he was doing it as a challenge from C.L.R. James, who was a teacher for a while in Security, who had already written The Black Jacobins about the French islands and the French Revolution, Haiti, and so on. And I think C.L.R. told him, write something about the British islands. And Eric Williams wrote Capitalism and Slavery, which, by the way, explains that the reason for the abolition was economic, because of all the revolution and all the burning out, and especially after Haiti. Right? When Haiti moved in 1804, from 1791 to 1804, the whole Toussaint and Bookman and so on. When they moved, the whole of the Caribbean moved, because when Haiti moved, all the slave masters move out of Haiti, end up in Martinique, end up in Trinidad. That's how we get the Carnival. And yet we as a people don't recognize that that is how this whole slave thing come to end, because it was no longer economically viable in that form. Right? Then they give you another form. They say, well, you're free now, but they still own your resources.
yeah.
Aye.
Right. But the thing is, the man they reverse so much. Says that is the reason. So I don't understand how Trinidad authorities can't teach that. And it might have to do with how the exam thing is exam. Let me finish this point. That's as an example. In 1990, after the coup,
Right.
one of the fellas, one of the Muslims living in Palo Seco, said he wish to come to the school and talk about their point of view. And I asked the social studies teacher, I said, again, if you have to come, you have sixth form. No, but not sixth form yet, you have form 5. And they could hear. And how responsible he was that coming to the exam.
Wow.
So as long as the exam oriented, then maybe it won't happen. And if you don't demand it happen, why will the government do what's happening in Mexico? And obviously, what happening in other places, you get to learn about the country. You can't come into that and you learn about history of Trinidad Carnival. And because what people will do, they will revise the thing, Right? Some years ago, they had a copybook for children. There was another UNC point. And they talk about the highlights in Trinidad history. And they skipped 1970 clean.
As usual.
As if it didn't exist.
As usual.
Okay. And
let me take a break. Let me
no
take a break.
problem.
Right back.
We're going back
Yeah.
shortly. Yeah.